When you first open Freehand, the welcome wizard will pop up asking you what you want to open. You can roll over each of the icons and a description will pop up at the bottom. Let's go ahead and select New and create a new document. Okay, now that we've created a new document, let's go take a look at the main toolbar. That's located at the top of our page, up here where I'm pointing. And this contains some of the basic functions that you'll be using throughout Freehand. This toolbar imitates a lot of the menu commands and eliminates that extra step of having to go up into your menu and locate that particular function. And all you have to do, like say if you wanted to create a new document, just hit that icon and bam, you got a new document there. Hit this one and that opens an existing one, and then click on that one that exports. Otherwise you'd have to go up to File, go all the way to Export, and then export your document this way. This is a one-shot deal. You just hit it and you're ready to go. We'll get into the other icons later, but if you need to know what they stand for, just roll your arrow tool on top of each of the icons and a name will come up, and that'll be a brief description of what they stand for. Now if you get really curious, you can just click on it and then see what pops up. In this case, it's the Align tool. Another cool feature within Freehand is that it lets you customize your own toolbar. Now let's go up to Window, go to Toolbar, and go Customize. And you see a Customize dialog box pops up, and at the top it says Shortcuts and Toolbar. For right now, let's go to Toolbar, and you'll see that it has the commands and it has the buttons. Now if you go ahead and press on the first button, we know that it's for a new document. Now let's say you wanted to add a button on there. Let's go ahead and say, okay, we want a Save As button. Now you see the little highlighted line around the disk with the question mark? That's a Save As. Now simply grab that and drag it out on top of your toolbar and drop it. And there it is. I mean, how cool is that? Okay, for this exercise, we're going to look at some of the inspectors and panels. And the first one that we want to look at is called the Inspector panel. Now let's go over to our right of our screen and notice that we have two floating panels that are already out there, but they're not our inspector panel, so we're going to have to go and get it. So let's go back up to Window, go to Inspectors, and select Object. Okay, now there's our inspector panel. And within one inspector panel contains Object, Stroke, Fill, Text, and Document. And if you can't read these, just go ahead and select the individual tabs and then it'll open up. Okay, right now let's go back to the Object panel. And you see it says No Selection. I've drawn a little square here for this example. Let's go ahead and select the square. And then now look at our Object panel. You see that it recognizes the square as a rectangle and the dimensions are set below in the X and Y coordinates and your width and your height. And the corner radius is currently set at 0. Now if we want to round the corners to that box, let's put a value in there of, let's say 0.5. Okay, type in 0.5 and hit return. And now look at your box and you see that it has radius corners. Okay, now let's go ahead and take a look at the stroke inspector. Just click on that and you see a series of windows here. Okay, the first one that says basic. Right now we currently have a basic line stroke for this box. And the other selections are brush, custom, pattern, or postscript. Okay, let's just click off of there. And the one beneath that determines what the color of the line is. And right now it's set at black. The other selections that are in there right now are white and registration. So let's just click off of there. And the line width is 0.5. And here you can also make it fatter by just picking a number. Here we just pick 12. So now we have a real fat line. But let's just bring it back to 0.5 for right now. And join determines what kind of a corner the box would have. If it had a sharp 90-degree corner, then you can have a squared corner or you can have it slightly tapered off to the side too. And cap just determines, if you had a straight line drawn, would determine whether the end of the line would be rounded or whether it'd be squared off. And right now we have no dash, but let's just add a dash and see what it looks like. So let's just add a little dash here, and now you see the lines are all dash. So if you want to see it even clearer, we can just go and let's just pick 6 point, and then it's even clearer. But if you want to see even fatter, let's go to 12 point. And it's kind of a cool effect. So, you can play around with all these and just, mix and match and just see what you like. Just play around, have fun with it. And then if we had a straight line drawn, then we can select arrow tools here. We have arrows, and we have ones that, have the rounded corners as well. And then if you wanted to create a new one yourself, say if you had something that you created on your desktop, you can go ahead and paste it into here and then create a new arrow. And the same goes for this one as well. You can go ahead and select one of the standard arrows that are within the Freehand palette, or you can go ahead and create a new one. Okay, now let's move on to our next inspector, which is Fill. Okay, click on a tab that says Fill, and right now it's set at None because our square doesn't have a fill inside of it. But let's go ahead and choose the first one, which is Basic, and see what happens. Well, it fills it with white, so you can't really see that it even has a fill. So let's click on that, and let's select Black so we can see something here. Alright, so now we see that it has a black fill. And there's other selections of fills here that we're not going to get into right now because I'm going to cover that more in detail a little bit later. But I just wanted to show that to you for right now. Now the next inspector we're going to look at is our text inspector. So go ahead and select that. And the first window that we have here is our font display window. Just go ahead and click that and take a look at that, and you see a whole list of fonts there, and it's cool because you can just scroll over them and it shows you exactly what that specific font looks like. Okay, get out of there, just click off to the side, and here it shows you whether the text will be bold, italic, or bold italic. To the right of that is your font sizes, and just scroll and just take a look at that. And you can also highlight the, like say 24, that's up there now, and you can type in your own point size as well. So you can customize your text to however you like. And these edits your alignment of your text. So if you have like a body of text that you've typed and you want it left justified, for instance, you can select it at left justified. If you want it centered stacked, you can center stack it and so on. And these buttons here show you the different text controls. And we'll get into this later on in our lesson because I have one section on text and I'll explain all these in detail. These are your text effects, and let's just click on there and take a look. It's on no effect right now because we have no text. But if you wanted to, you can add a highlight or inline, a shadow, a strike through, underline, and a zoom. And these are really fun. Just play with it and then just see what you like, because it just depends on what you're trying to do. You might be doing a newsletter and want to put emphasis into some text, and these may be the things that you need to add to it just to add that little pizzazz in there. And this last little window here that says normal text, that's our text style indicator. Alright, now let's move on to our last panel in our inspector, which is the document inspector. And just go ahead and click on that. And right now we don't have a master page, so it's set at none. But within this display window, you see where it says 1. This represents our actual document page that's all on our pasteboard right now. And you can grab this and you can move it around to reposition it, and then when we do that, you'll see that our page on our pasteboard actually moves around too. Now, if you wanted to change the view, let's say if you had a whole bunch of pages and it was really crowded, you can set it at a real tiny size too, but that's kind of hard to see, so let's just bring it back to there. But then you're wondering, well, what is this one here? Okay, well, let's click on that and take a look. Okay, and you see it makes a real big icon of our actual page now, and that's a little bit too big, so let's just select that one. This window here tells us that we're currently at letter size, and then we click on it and you see all the different selections that we have here. And you can even click on this and indicate exactly what type of page size you want and create a new page size. This shows you that right now we're at a portrait page, which is, upright, or if it's on its side, or in other words, a landscape page, we can just click that and you see how it rotates on its side. And let's just go ahead and bring it back to here. Bleed, we don't have a bleed right now, but like say for instance if we did a cover or presentation or something and we had a block here and we wanted that block to bleed off of the side of the page when we printed it. Now we would select a bleed, and we can put like a 1/4 of an inch bleed or something. And then what you'd see, let's go ahead and try that. Let's just put 0.25, hit return, and change this to inches. Okay, let's go ahead and type that in again. Let's go 0.25 and hit return. Okay, there we go. Now you see how there's that gray line that appears around there. That's our bleed area right there. So whenever you have anything that's going over the edge, that's how much of a bleed that you'll have. And this bottom is your printer resolution. Basically, you set this to whatever your printer prints at. If you have a LaserJet that prints at 600 dpi, you can set it at the maximum of 600 dpi, but mind you, whenever you set anything to a higher resolution, your file size will always increase too. So, always keep that in mind. But hey, if you have enough memory, I say go for it. Okay, let's take a brief look at the panel items right now. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about them because I'll cover them later on in this CD. But let's go ahead and launch the Layers panel right now. I have mine on my desktop, so I'm just going to grab it here and then drag it onto my document page and maximize the window by clicking in this little box that says Maximize. Okay, now go ahead and click on Layers, and this will launch the Layers panel here. And what Layers does, it allows you to layer all your objects and text in whatever order that you choose to layer them. It's like there are certain items that you want on top of each other. If you're building like a map, you want to have like a base map at the very bottom as your base, and then you can build your elements on top. So then that's when Layers would come in really handy. Now moving on, let's go to the Swatches panel and click on that. And the Swatches panel is where you would keep all the colors that you're going to use for your text and objects. Now let's move on to Styles, and just go and move and click on that one. And what the Styles panel is, it allows you to keep all your objects and text that you assign as styles. You can use those to reapply to other objects and text. Okay, the next panel we're going to look at is the Mixer panel. Just go ahead and open it. If it's not open, just go to Window, Panels, and Color Mixer. Okay, anyway, Color Mixer is where you have your CMYK, your RGB, and your HLS, and your system color picker. And you can define your colors by these 4 different modes. And moving to the Tints panel, just click on that. The Tints panel allows you to create different percentages, tints of color. Like say if you're using a red, you can create like a 10%, 30%, just where you see these little numbers. If you have a color in here, the color will be down here, and then the tints of the color will appear in these little squares here. The next panel we want to look at is the Align panel. So let's go ahead and minimize this and scoot it off to the side and grab the Align panel and maximize that. And what the Align panel is for, it aligns and distributes your graphics and your text within your document. Okay, now let's go ahead and minimize this window and drag it back off to the side, and we have one more panel to look at. So let's go back up to Window, Panels, and go to Halftones. And let's drag this onto our document page here. And what halftones is for, if you have any screened objects within your graphics, you can apply halftones to specific objects different from each other and just apply it to those certain objects by themselves. Okay, now let's go ahead and close this out. I want to show you something cool. Okay, let's close that and drag that guy over here. Let's go ahead and drag the Swatches panel back out, and let's just open this up. If you want to undock these, you've probably heard that term before. You can just yank these out. Isn't that cool? You can just have them stand alone by themselves if you want. And you can also mix and match too. If there are certain panels that you use more than others, you may want to combine those. Let's see, let's try one. Let me open this Mixer and Tints up. And like say, if you want to keep your colors together, let's go ahead and grab the swatches and then grab that and drag it out to here. And look, they're all joined now, which is cool because then now you have all your colors together. And when you're not using the panels, you know how I had them minimized, you can just go ahead and minimize them and scoot it off to the side. And then you'll notice too, as when you're coming up underneath this transform, as you get closer, it snaps into place. Let's do another one. Just grab it and you'll see as it gets closer to the base of the mixer, it snaps into place, so it's really neat. So it just stays out of the way and you can just go and get it as you need it. And another cool thing too on the keyboard, if you want to hide the panels altogether, the F4 keyboard, if you hit F4, that hides all of them all together. And then if you want to see them, then just go ahead and press F4 again. Well, now you know what all the basic panels are for, and you also know how to undock these panels, move them out of the way, and hide them as well. So let's keep moving on. In this exercise, I'm going to show you how to use the guides, rulers, and grids. Okay, let's first go and get our page rulers. Go to View and scroll down to Page Rulers and go Show. And you'll see the rulers appear on the top and left side of the pasteboard. Let's go back up to View. And this time let's go all the way down to Guides and let's go get our guides. Now when the check mark is beside Show, that means that is currently active, and if it isn't, then it is not active. So if yours is active, then just leave as is. Otherwise, just go ahead and select that. Okay, now let's go back to our rulers. And let's just take our arrow key and just scroll on top of it. And you notice how your arrow turns white? Well, now go ahead and press with your arrow inside of the ruler, and you'll see a line come down onto your page. Now just drag that line anywhere and let go. And now you've just created a guide. And let's do the same with our vertical ruler. Let's just go, and where it turns white, just go ahead and press and drag out and let go. Now let me show you something here. This is very important. Saves you a lot of frustration. Let's just go back off of our document page, back up to our rulers, and do the same thing. Just drag and drag another guide, and you see how the line comes down. But this time, let go and see what happens. You notice there's no guides? That used to drive me crazy until I figured out why. And unless you're on top of your document page, the guides will not appear. So save yourself a lot of agony that way, because a lot of times you're wondering, what's going on? Is my computer broken? So that will save you a lot of grief. So just remember that you have to be on top of your page, okay? Now, say if you wanted a guide that wasn't just a straight line, you wanted a guide for a diagonal line, for instance. Let's just go to our line tool and just select the line tool and just draw a line, a diagonal line. And let's go over to the layers panel because it's on a hidden background right now. So let's just go and click on draw, and that'll bring it up into the visible portion. And let's just go to back to our layers panel and see where it says guides here. Just go ahead and click on guides and see what happens. See, it turns it into a guide. And you can go and select your arrow tool and you can drag this guide around to wherever you may want it. Now, if you wanted guides of a circular shape, same deal. Just go to your tools panel, select the circle tool, and just draw a circle. Same thing, go to your guides, and you notice this time it came with a fill, but then watch what happens. The fill disappears as it turns into a guide. And I've also drawn some odd shapes off to the side here. Let's just go and scroll and grab one of these. Let's just go and grab this S, for instance. And let's just drag it to our document page. And the same thing, that's a path. And oops, didn't mean to do that. I'm going to just Apple Z that. Or Control Z on the PC. And just the same thing, just go to guides. And see, now that S is turned into a guide. So you can use the guides as a tracing layer if you wanted to trace something like this. And if you don't want that layer to move, just go ahead back to your guides and see that little lock symbol? Just press on that and that locks it into place. So then now when you come back to your page, you can't move it or anything, so you're free to just trace directly on top of it. You can also set your guides to snap to guides, which enables your objects to snap to your guidelines. Okay, let's just go back up to View again and go down to Guides. And you see that my Snap to Guides is enabled. Now, this is a fast and easy way to align a lot of your objects, but some people much prefer not to have it. That's like me. I don't like anything to snap to my guide, so I usually deselect this item. But experiment with it and see if you're comfortable with it, and if you like it, then leave it on. Okay, let's go back up to View again, back down to Guides, and this time let's go to Edit. The Edit selection enables you to add guides in exact horizontal and vertical increments by adding the values to the Count and Increment selection. Now let's go ahead and press on Add, and you see an Add Guides window pops up. And here you can have your guides horizontal, vertical, and you can add it by count or increment. And these show you your last position, the first and the last. We just have one page, so it's just showing a page range of 1. Let's go ahead and add a value in here. Let's just pick a number 6. Okay, and let's just go Add and go OK, and let's see what happens. Okay, let me scroll down and show you, but first let's get all these panel windows out of the way. Remember the keystroke F4? Go ahead and hit F4, and that hides everything. So now let's go to our scroll bar, and let's just scroll down so we can see all the guidelines. And you see it's put all 6 guidelines up there. So, that's cool if you're doing something of exact, precise measurement and you want to automatically have your guides already set up there for you, which is pretty cool. Okay, now that we've learned how to enter guides, let's go back and take a look at the page rulers. The page rulers are used to measure your objects that you'll draw within your document. And you can also change the unit of measurement too by going down to the status bar at the very bottom, and let's just press on this arrow, and you see all the little points, picas, inches, decimals. So whatever unit of measurement that you're going to be needing, just go ahead and make your selection right there. You can also adjust the 0 point of your measurement by just going to the very corner of the ruler, and see these little crosshairs here. Just go ahead and press your arrow tool and just go ahead and drag out. And then watch the ruler numbers at the very top. As I let go and it snaps down, then you see where I let go the 0, and the 0 is lined up at the exact point. So that's cool, because if you want to, like, say, measure something from that point and you want an exact count, then you can just align it to the edge of that object and just let go, and that be your 0 point. Now, say you want to restore the rulers back to their default measurement. Just simply go to the crosshairs and just double click inside of there, and voila, it's back to normal again. And everything's lining up the way it was. And your rulers change in increments as you zoom in and out of your page too. So let's just go and let me select the magnification tool here, and let's just zoom in on a particular area and just watch the rulers. See how it changes? It changes according to whatever view that you're in. Okay, let's move on to grids. Let's go back up to View, and this time let's go down to Grid. And since I don't have it on, it's the check mark's not beside it. So let's just go ahead and select that, Show, and then you see a grid pops up. Okay, what I'm going to do now is zoom out so we can get a better look at the grid. Let's use a keystroke for this. I'm just going to hold the Alt key down for the PC or the Option key for the Mac, and you see the plus sign now turns into a minus. Now just go ahead with your mouse and just click and click out. And you see that the grid is on the document page and the pasteboard as well. And the grid can be repositioned as well, just like how we did for the guides. Let's just go back to the crosshairs, and let's just drag somewhere on our page and let go, and you see how it repositioned the grid to line up where I just dropped it on the page. Okay, let's go back up to View and go down to Grid and go to Edit. And you can edit the space between the dots on the grid here. You can just enter a different value. Let's just change it to, I don't know, let's just put 1 and see what happens. and hit OK. And you see how far spaced they are now? That's because we just set it to 1 and changed the value. Okay, let's go back up to view one more time and take a look at edit once again. Okay, go to edit. And you see where it says relative grid? What that is, it forces any duplicated objects to stay aligned to the same relative grid position. And let's just get out of here. Let's just cancel out of here. And I want to show you something else that's pretty cool. Let's just go up to edit. And let's go and grab our arrow tool first. Okay, we got our arrow tool. Go to edit. And let's go to preferences for a minute. Let's go to colors. And you see that there's a guide color and a grid color. If you want to change these default colors, you can do so by just double clicking, and the palette will come up with different colors. You can just choose a different color and just go OK. And then same with the grid color too. Right now it's at red, so let's just double click on there and say you want green. So just go OK, and then now just hit OK out of there, and let's zoom in. Use your magnification tool. Let's zoom in and take a look at that. It's kind of hard to see, but if you look at it, they are green, and then now your guides are the purple that we just set it at. Okay, in this exercise we just learned how to make guides, make custom guides, set the page ruler, change the units of measurement, and create a custom grid. Now you know how to activate and deactivate the guides, page rulers, and grids. You learned how to set custom guides using objects and diagonal lines, and also set up custom guides through the edit panel as well. You've also learned how to change the dot spacing on the grid, and also change the default colors of the guides and grids through the preferences panel. Okay, before we go on any further, let's go ahead and save our document. Go up to File, and go to Save As, and currently I have this file saved as new. Let's rename it First Document. Just type in First. Okay, and before we click Save, I want you to look at something here. Always, always, always be aware of where you save your document. Don't just mindlessly hit Save and just click out of there, because a lot of times it'll end up in some obscure folder, and then you're going to end up doing an extensive search looking for your document. So just always, always be aware of where your document is being saved. Okay, now go ahead and hit Save. And as you work in your document, please, 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 I can't drive this home enough, save your document every few minutes, because save yourself a lot of heartache. I've learned this the hard way, and I've worked hours and hours on something, and I totally forgot to save it, and then the computer crashed. And all those precious hours went down the tubes, and I just wanted to cry. So just save yourself a heartache and just get into this good habit. Save your document immediately, name it, put it in a place that you'll know you can find it, and then that way you'll have it there to access easily, and just save, 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 like every 3 minutes, or even like every minute would be good too. When you save your document, you can always go back up to File. Let's just go back up there, and you can see where it's grayed out right now, but you can go Save. But we haven't done anything right now, that's why it's grayed out. But the easiest way to save is just to use the keystroke. For the Macintosh, it is Apple S on your keyboard, and for the PC, it would be Control S. So just every minute, just go ahead and hit either Apple S and Control S, and that'll automatically save your document. Let me show you just this one little cool gizmo here. It's called the Hand tool, and it's located in the Tools panel. Let's just go ahead and get it. And see that little cute hand? Okay, just go ahead and select that. And then now drag it out to your document page. You see the little hand? Well, now if you wanted to move your page, all you have to do is just move it with the little hand. Just press your mouse down and just move it and move it. And this is kind of cool because, you can use your scroll arrows to scroll back and forth, but that either goes vertically or horizontally. So, with the little hand tool, like say if you wanted to get to the top at a diagonal really quick, you can just drag it and you're there. And I use it a lot more than scroll tool because this is a lot faster for myself, so I can just kind of buzz back and forth, and it's just really easy to use. But I just wanted to show that to you. Let's just go and select the arrow right now, and it's just back to the arrow tool. Another way to access this hand tool is with your space bar. Now go ahead and depress your space bar right now. And look, it turns into the little hand. So the only deal with this one, instead of selecting it on the toolbar where you don't have to hold the space bar down, you can just hold the space bar and same thing, depress your mouse and just move, move, move. And then when you let the space bar go, it goes back to your arrow tool and it disappears. Alrighty, now that we know how to diligently save our document and use the hand feature, let's move on.